All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dids in the Dugout. This is not going to be our baseball show. We will be recording it tomorrow on Wednesday, but we decided to hop on here and kind of talk about, for lack of a better phrase, state of the athletic program with everything that's gone on here within the last week. Arkansas coming in trying to get Chris Beard and Ole Miss being able to retain him. That's not something that Ole Miss in the past has been able to do. But, now we've seen Keith Carter fend off Auburn for Lane Kiffin and now Arkansas for Chris Beard. And it just kind of got me thinking about how far this athletic program has come. This isn't the same old Ole Miss program that, coach comes in, has success, or kind of like in Chris Beard's case, big time, high profile coach comes in, does okay his first year, and then a bigger program comes open, and they're usually able to come in and get them. But Keith Carter, this athletic department, the fans, that's probably the biggest part in all of this. Fans pouring money into NIL and stuff like that. 'Cause I think that's what it's all about. So it just kind of got me and Hitch thinking a little bit, and we thought, well, we'll just go ahead and make a show out of this, because I thought it'd be, if nothing else, a very interesting dialogue. So we decided to hop on here. But before we get into all that, Hitch, how you doing, bud? You got a rainy day up there in Oxford. Rebels aren't going to play tonight?
Nope, it has been coming down all day long. But other than that, no complaints.
Yeah, I hear it's been coming down here in Enville about all day long too. It's like we're gonna have another couple days of it. So bubble didn't hold up this time. It's going to steer.
I get it.
Well, it's going to steer all of the bad stuff away from us on Wednesday. I think what's supposed to come. Yeah,
that's what the bubble's for. Just to steer all the bad stuff away. It's got to let some of this moisture in.
That's right.
The bubble. So
yeah,
I mean, it serves its purpose.
It knows what it's doing. I'm never going to be one to question the bubble. So I think it's going to hold up just fine. But yeah, let's dive into it real quick. So obviously Eric Musselman leaves Arkansas and goes to USC. And as soon as that happened, there was all this talk about Chris Beard, that he was their number one target. And obviously I was worried there for several days. But I also had that thought of, this has happened with Lane Kiffin before, right? And Keith Carter's been able to fend suitors off for him, give him what he needs to compete. And you see what he's been able to do with. He's built this incredible roster in football. And we announced the contract extension at the SEC tournament for Chris Beard. And it's not only a rollover, he got a raise, and from my understanding, NIL promises. And when all of this come up, it sounds like Keith Carter went back and redid it again and gave him even more money, not only salary-wise, but also with NIL and other stuff like that he needs to build this program up. One thing about Keith Carter, he's obviously one of the Ole Miss basketball greats. I grew up watching him. I know you did too. He loves basketball, and he wants basketball to be successful here. So, I mean, it was obviously really, really good news to hear that he got this done and kept Chris Beard in Oxford.
Yeah, I mean, just right before we started recording, you said something about not so long ago, Ole Miss was a school that, if somebody wanted to coach, they just came in and got them. And my first thought was, yeah, you're right, because probably when you ask me, all right, what was your introduction to Ole Miss athletics? It was probably the Tommy Tuberville Ole Miss team. And I remember him, when that happened, like Auburn wanted him, they came in, they got him. And so for a long time, you're right. If we had a coach here, we were a stepping stone program.
That's it. Yeah.
Right? If a coach came here, coach did really well, somebody wanted him, they came in and got him. And now with back-to-back defense, I guess if you want to call that, from Keith Carter with Lane Kiffin. Well, actually, even getting Kiffin here, I mean, he beat Arkansas to get Kiffin here to begin with. And then, fending off Auburn last year, and then now with Beard. Well, and I don't know, could you call it? Well, we can talk about that later. Never mind. Now with Beard,
I think I know where you're going with that.
Fending off Arkansas, it does it does look really good for Keith Carter overall as athletic director.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do want to take it a step further, I don't know if this is where you were going or not, but it kind of popped into my head when you started making that comment there. They fended off Georgia for Coach Yo last year as well, too, if I've got that right. Was able to keep her there, and she's obviously got the program going in the right direction. And that's kind of where I want to go with this entire conversation is you see the commitment we have in football. Lane Kiffin has this incredible roster. Obviously, NIL or whatever you want to call it plays a huge part in that. There's no telling what we're paying for this roster. I hate to disappoint y'all. Me and Hitch are not privy to those numbers, so we don't have an answer as far as what that costs.
Nope.
But it's not only that; it's the resources. You look at Lane and the staff that he's put together, all these analysts, GMs, player personnel. It's a very Nick Saban, Alabama kind of model that you're bringing in. You've got Arnett, who was an SEC head coach just last year as an analyst, and you're not paying him anything. And then you go get Judge, a former NFL coach. You've got all of these different guys that have had these prestigious positions already in football that are coming to join this staff, to help this staff win ball games. And I would assume, I don't know it, I haven't heard it reported anywhere, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I would assume there's probably an assistant influx for Chris Beard to probably do something kind of similar to that with his basketball program as well. I'd figure there's probably some sort of assistant pool raise, something like that, where he can bring in not only assistant coaches if he has openings, but analysts, player development guys, stuff like that. And on top of that, the NIL money that I'm sure we've pledged to him per year to build a roster and put a product out there, it's going to get Ole Miss fans excited.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that is the case. It really feels like the football program is ahead of the game when it comes to this analytics and these analytical coaches. I don't know what you want to call these hires. I mean, they're coaches, but I don't know what vernacular we use for them quite yet. But we are
all field analysts. Field analysts.
That's cool. But it really feels like Lane is really beefing his staff up with those analysts, and it would be nice to see, Chris Beard and Coach Yo and any other athletic program be able to get that as well, simply because it really feels like this is the way that athletics are going, right? For the past couple of years, all that you've heard is, oh, the analytics say this or the analytics say that. And you don't want to be late to the game and something like that. You want to be in the forefront of that happening.
Yeah, and speaking of being in the forefront, I put out on Twitter after the Chris Beard announcement and all that, this is what makes this athletic department in Oxford so special, is we've been at the forefront of this new NIL era, or whatever you want to call it, since they started talking about it before it went into place. When it went into place, we hit the ground running. As soon as Chris Beard tweeted out, whatever that video was or whatever that, confirmed that he was coming back. I think that came out on Saturday, maybe something like that, around noon on Saturday, if I got that right. But as soon as that came out, right behind it was the Growth Collective and Walker Jones saying, hey, anybody that donates at least $50 to the Growth Collective gets a free Chris Beard signed basketball poster, and that's something that's not costing them really anything. It costs Chris Beard time to sit down and sign these posters to send out to them. But, how many people would look at that and go, hey, $50, it's not that much money. I can give that to the Growth Collective and I can have this piece of memorabilia from one of the best basketball coaches in the entire country. And look, you're not going to build a roster doing that. You're not going to maintain a roster with giving away posters for $50 or whatever it is. But it's a nice little influx because there was probably thousands of people that thought, yeah, I'll give $50 to get a Chris Beard signed poster, right? So it's still just a little bit more that goes into the pot that you didn't have before. And they always do little things like that. Like they did a thing not too long ago, either up your either join the Grove Collective, or if you up your monthly donation, get entered for a chance to win a signed Walter Nolan football or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing went absolutely crazy. So small things that I think they just do a really good job of, and them being on the forefront, that's kind of what we're talking about there, doing those things.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, on top of, every little bit matters or every little bit helps. What it also does is it takes those people that maybe they think that they're $25 or they're $50, like, why even give that? Because that $25 or $50 doesn't matter. Well, if they're getting something in return, like a signed, Chris Beard
poster or whatever,
poster, right? They're like, oh, well, I'll give my $50 there. And then what that does is that lets the people who are looking at all of the donations, right, sees, oh, well, we have so many people interested in donating and interested in giving, right? We can do all of these other things with that data. And so it just, that one little move from Walker Nolan and the Grove Collective of, hey, we're going to do this small thing. That one move has all of these like tentacles that go out in different
branches
ways.
coming off. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so it's a really smart move.
Yeah. That's actually pretty interesting. I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, when they put out those kind of specials and stuff like that, they're obviously you have to put in I'm assuming a code or whatever to be entered into it, but they can use that data saying, okay, this worked. They were interested in the Walter Nolan football, or they're interested in the Chris Beard poster. When after we beat BYU, they did those shirts with Jackson Dart holding up that cougar that he killed, and so they're probably able to say, okay, this worked. Wasn't a lot of interest here. Maybe not do that again, but circle back to these other things that brought in, $10,000, $15,000, whatever it is. And so if you're able to find out what people are interested in and what they're willing to give for, you're able to do it over and over and over again and really stack that money up. And, by the time you turn around, with all of these giveaways, if you get an extra, $80,000 to $100,000 just for stuff that, quite frankly, doesn't cost them much of anything, but gives back to the fans in return. That's a really good point to be able to collect that data and find out what works and what doesn't. What I think is really interesting in this whole dynamic, we just talked about football and all the investment made into them. Men's basketball, the investment that I'm assuming is promised to Chris Beard in that program. You've got to assume with Coach O, what she's done the last couple of years, you have to make an investment into women's basketball as well from an NIL standpoint. She's proved that she can go out and she can win. You give her a little bit of help, she might be able to win really big at Ole Miss with the women's program. And then you have a baseball program that's 2 years removed from a national championship and has spent, over 2 decades as one of the top 10 programs in the country. And you just announced a $30 million renovation to your baseball stadium on top of that. What I find really interesting is how you divide your war chest into all of these different sports that are either ascending, or in Ole Miss baseball's case, they're the only ones that's brought you a national championship, and you've already pledged $30 million to a stadium upgrade. So you're not going to leave them high and dry either. So I think it's a real interesting dynamic how you divvy all of this money up between those programs.
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting, because football is, you would say, the moneymaker. You are trying to, you don't go out and hire a Chris Beard caliber coach last year or 2 years ago if you don't think that you're going to invest in the basketball program and try to get kids in from the transfer portal and recruiting classes, right, using that NIL money. Look, but with the way that women's basketball is going, I told my wife the other night, I was like, it's fixing to blow up. Because I watched almost that whole game the other night. It was incredible
it really was,
right from the beginning to the end. And there are a lot of freshmen. That freshman from South Carolina, man,
Mm-hmm.
she was so fast. She's incredible. The kid from not the kid. I'm sorry, the young lady from USC, Juju Watkins.
Uh-huh.
They are
Yeah.
so good. And that's what I told her, Blake. I said, I was like, there are a bunch of Caitlin Clarks that are fixing
Mm-hmm.
to like emerge onto the scene, and more people are going to start watching it. And because of that, I think we have to invest in the women's basketball program, because we have a
Mm-hmm.
coach. We have a coach that has like a national spotlight of some sort,
Yeah.
right? She has a presence nationally where people like her and respect her and
Mm-hmm.
want to transfer here and come to school here. So you have to invest in that. And then the baseball program, like you said, it's a very proud program over the past couple of decades,
Mm-hmm.
and it, very frankly, is headed in the wrong direction right now. So you also need to figure out what money you're going to throw at that to reel that back in, right? So
Yeah.
and then you've got other programs that need money as well. So
Yeah.
like you said, I'm glad that you prefaced all this by saying we don't have any of the answers. We just have questions, but because that's 100%
Yeah.
true. I don't have any
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, and I'm going to circle back to women's basketball, and actually have no intention of spending this much time on women's basketball when
Let's do
we
it.
hit record. But Coach Yo has done such an amazing job of getting out and branding the program. Right? She's putting herself out there, and when people see Coach Yo, they're going to think women's basketball. She started doing these coaching Twitter spaces, basically weekly now, that have started gaining some pretty big crowds, and not only in this area, nationally. You see a lot of different fan bases tweet at her, responding to her about those spaces she's held. She was in up at the Final Four at a coaches clinic, running it during the women's
She
Final
was doing
Four.
some of those at halftime. Like she would do like a coach's corner or something at halftime.
Yeah. She's done a really, really good job of branding herself nationally, not just in this area. That way people know about her. When they hear Coach O, they're going to think Ole Miss women's basketball. I think this program is on a skyrocketing trajectory right now with her at the helm. She absolutely gets it. It really reminds me, Hitch, of Lane Kiffin when he first took over the football program, because he went out and he started branding, not the exact same way, because his name was Lane Kiffin and people knew who he was, but he knew that he had to build a brand at Ole Miss for the football program before he could have success nationally. And Coach O's doing that right now for the women's program. She's just doing it a little bit differently. And I think you've got to do whatever you have to make sure she stays in Oxford and see the end result of this, because I think it could end up being pretty special.
Yeah, and just going back to being on the forefront of things, I think that this program has a legitimate opportunity to be on, I don't want to say ride the coattails of Caitlin Clark and, South Carolina into, making women's sports and women's basketball much more legitimate or making it as legitimate as it should be. But right, if Caitlin kicked the doors in, well, not on a first name basis, sorry. If Caitlin Clark kicked the doors in, right, like let's be the first ones to run through. And I think that Ole Miss has a real opportunity, like you were saying. Coach Yo has that national brand. And look, I'm going to say so. I don't know how it works with women's basketball and the transfer portal and all of the connections and things like that. But Coach Yo go out, make a move, and Haley Van Lith is in the transfer portal from LSU. Grab her, bring her in, right? Make a big splash, like Lane did with Jackson Dart. I'm not comparing Yo and Lane at all, but kind of just going with your analogy. But go out and get a couple of big transfers, come in and make a Final Four next year or the next, and put Ole Miss women's basketball up there with Tennessee basketball, with UConn basketball, right? In this new era. So, I would love to see us throw some money. I hate using that term. I'd love to see put some money towards the women's basketball program.
Investment. Invest in the program.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Yep.
Yeah. So that'll be real interesting to see. Like I said, I think Coach O's done a good job. Hope she's here for a long time. I think she can really build something here. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see in the future. And like you said, invest in it a little bit. If you have some more NIL money that you can throw to that program or whatever it needs. I'm sure Coach O's out there fighting for everything that she needs. But again, kudos to her. She's doing a great job. She's putting herself out there. She's doing a great job trying to build the brand of this program.
She does not.
Well, we don't know that yet. She still hasn't gotten back to us. So, Coach O, after you watch this, need you to comment and let us know if you slapped the floor on defense or not. Hitch doesn't think so. I think you probably do. You're that intense. So you really need to settle this argument for us. So after you get done watching the show, drop down the comments and let us know who's right on this one, because it's been quite a battle between me and him for the last few months on who's right on this. Really need you to settle it. So
and be sure you watch. Be sure you watch. Don't you dare listen.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, so again, it's going to be really interesting how you spread money across these four programs. I think they are all in really, really good shape. I'm still not giving up on the baseball program either. We're a really proud program. We're going to be fine. We've just got to figure some things out. Me and Mitch will go over a lot of that in our show tomorrow, though, when it drops. That'll be the baseball show before the Mississippi State series. Really, really big series coming up. If you're watching, listening, you already know that the Murray State series or game for Tuesday night's been rained out here in Oxford, but that's okay. Give us a few days extra rest. Get ready for Mississippi State, a big series coming up. Now, if you are anywhere around Oxford or want to make a trip to Oxford, this weekend's the weekend to do it. Like we just said, Mississippi State comes to town. We haven't won a series against them in baseball since 2014, 2015, something like that. I think our last series win was 2014. We're winless since 2015. I think that's the way it's supposed to be worded. But we also have the Grove Bowl coming up on Saturday, and Lane Kiffin is going against the book and basically throwing every bit of old football, whatever you want to call it, out the window with the way he's doing the spring game this year. It's more of a 7-on-7 football contest with a lot of different contest games, whatever you want to call it. They're doing something with, right? And they're involved. Like there's some games with like sororities and fraternities during the game too, or contest, whatever you want to call it. Hot dog eating contest, bringing in Joey Jaws for that. Joey Chestnut going to come into Oxford. Lane said he slid into the DMs and got it done. This is
where I draw the line, by the way.
How many hot dogs do you think you could eat? Yeah.
Oh, man, none, because I'm not dunking them in water and.
No, I'm not dunking in water. Like I'm gonna have to throw some ketchup and if you want to do some mustard, onion, stuff like that, yeah, I'm in. But no, I'm not doing the whole water dunking thing. Now, if you want to put some chicken wings in front of me, I'll make a fool out of myself.
Yeah. Well,
I think I'm good for 25 or 30 easy.
I'm pretty sure that's why Chad hadn't been on the show in a while. That's what his charges stem from. It's a chicken wing.
You think so?
It's a chicken wing eating accident. Yeah. Or not accident. Incident. Sorry, incident.
Incident. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Letters matter, Hitch. Letters matter.
Tell me about it.
It's an I instead of an A there. So tell
me more about this Grove Bowl. I haven't looked anything up about it. I just saw skills competition, 7-on-7 and skills competition.
Yeah, that's basically what we're going to have. Like I said, with the hot dog eating contest, and they haven't announced, as far as I've seen now, if it's come out since we've recorded, there's some sort of contest with, like I said, fraternities, sororities getting involved, maybe some fans as well getting a chance to compete in something. I mean, it's basically field day in elementary school. right? Like that's basically what Lane Kiffin's doing. He's saying to hell with the old way of doing spring ball. We're not going to line up in pads and beat the shit out of each other. We're just going to go out there and have fun for a little while. So I think that would be really cool to watch, especially with the big baseball game on deck. Right before we hit record, Hitch, I saw where Ole Miss baseball announced a sellout for Saturday against State. So should be quite a crowd in Oxford. So if you're doing any of your Kroger trips, anything like that, you might want to get that done before the weekend.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I may see about renting my house out for the weekend.
Oh, there you go. I got a couple extra bedrooms down here. We can throw you in one, and then Blake and the kids in the other one. Let you have the bed to yourself.
That's what
How about that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if y'all are in Oxford, definitely get down. Watch not only the Rebs and Bulldogs this weekend. It's going to be absolutely beautiful weather, sunny and upper 70s, low 80s, all 3 days this weekend, and then the Grove Bowl on top of that. So it's going to be a lot of fun in Oxford. If you're around, stop by, support both programs. I will say before we get out of here with the baseball thing, real quick, Hitch, it's not time to give up on this team. The math is still there. It doesn't take anything absolutely ridiculous to get us to 14 and 16. We've played some really, really good teams. The last two opponents we've played are combined 22-2 in the SEC. One at home, one on the road. Obviously, the series before that was one of the toughest places in the SEC to play, Tennessee, where obviously that didn't go super well either. Lost 2 out of 3. All that being said, yes, the SEC is harder than it's ever been. The competition is stiff, but at the end of the day, this is a results business. Wins and losses are what really counts, not moral victories. So if we're going to get back to being the program that we're used to being here over these last 2.5 decades almost, you got to step up and beat good teams. Just a good team coming in this weekend. Super excited to dive into them with you tomorrow and, talk about what the Rebels need to do to get this thing going back in the right direction, because it can still be done, and I still Bleav they can do it. But this weekend is critical for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was encouraging, even though it was a sweep, against Arkansas. It was encouraging that it didn't seem like anybody laid down and just, was like, hey, we got beat 2 out of 3 at Tennessee. We just got swept by Kentucky at home. Our season's over. We were in every single one of those games this weekend with a chance to win. And I think you're right. I think if we take one of those games this weekend, we're still very much on track for a postseason Ole Miss run, right? So you're still right. The math is still there. It just makes it a little more difficult, But like you said, we'll dive into that tomorrow. But definitely not giving up on them. But at the same time, need to correct some stuff.
It's time to go.
It is heading in the wrong direction. Quickly. It's time to pull up. This is time to pull up now.
Yep, no doubt. So, all right, well, Hitch, we'll go ahead and end it there. Everybody, I appreciate y'all tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. Obviously, y'all can find us on both of them.
You're welcome.
Let us know what y'all. Yeah, that's right. Let us know what y'all think about this episode. We decided to take a little bit of a break from baseball and do kind of a state of the athletic programs. Like I said, I thought it was pretty interesting last week with the beard stuff. And then when you think about everything else that has gone on between Kiffin and Yo and all of that, then, I just thought it'd make for an interesting conversation. So that was a lot of fun. Shout out. I can't remember your name. You were absolutely right. It was time for me to change the hat. Things were going in the wrong direction for Ole Miss baseball with the white hat. Change the hat, so we're going to get the mojo going in the right direction. So I appreciate you pointing that out, and we absolutely listen to the fans on this show. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I don't have a hat, but I have
I know, man. Your hair.
I've got a
it's a damn mess, dude. It is a mess.
Look at that.
Yeah. That's right. For the brand. All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all again tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. That Enville brand.
Right, yeah.
So, all right, guys. We'll holler at y'all tomorrow. I appreciate it. Hotty toddy.